Hi, my name is Nathan with Hollyfield Consulting, and I'm here today to tell you how to set up your Shure MV7. Do you want to sound professional in your next Zoom or during your next podcast interview without spending hours on troubleshooting or setup? Today, we're going to go over a quick and easy little rundown of how to get it set up, how to test your audio to make sure it sounds good, and that way every single time you're on Zoom, podcast, Riverside interview, it doesn't matter, you're going to sound professional. Okay, so first things first, you're going to make sure you actually have your microphone, the Shure MV7. I have the larger filter on here from the SM7B that came with it because whenever I use this, I don't really need it. But my wife, Samantha, tends to talk in a little bit more harder consonants and those big plosives. So this helps with that. You could also use a pop filter, but I don't really like using one just because I find it distracting. She could probably use one, but we use this instead. But moving on, you want to make sure you have what you need. So that's going to be your microphone, your USB cable if you're using that, and if you're using your XLR cable, obviously you're going to need one of those. So if you are using one of these, obviously make sure you have the correct interface, which is going to be a Scarlett, the Behringer. There's a few different varieties, but they essentially all do the same thing. And you're going to make sure that you have the right cables. Okay, moving on to the next part of the setup. And when you are setting up the microphone on your desk, whether you're using a boom arm or one of these little bad boys, I don't want you to have it too far away. Obviously, I'm using this microphone today, so this isn't really going to affect sound quality at all. But when you are setting up your microphone, you want to have it about 6 to 8 inches away from your face. For the boom arm, I actually position it to where it's kind of like right here. Basically, it's not in front of me. It's a little bit down, but kind of move it up a little bit. Then you tilt that microphone, you get that perfect kind of angle. Now, if you have a desk that's high enough where you can like lower your desk and then sit up a little bit and have you set up here, that's perfect. That's perfect. All right. But depending on your setup, maybe you have a cramped desk, you could set it off to the side. Just make sure whenever you do your sound check that you can actually hear yourself and it's not going to be, getting too much reverb or any of that kind of stuff. If you're hitting too much sound off the walls that you're going to have to take out in post, just make sure it sounds good. And mentioning that real quick, you can actually do that on the MV7. There's a 3.5 millimeter audio jack there in the back. You can plug in headset there, regular pair of headphones, earphones, and then you can hit this button right here, the monitoring, and you're going to be able to hear yourself speak into it as you're talking. It's not going to have a delay. There's no latency loss. It's just going to be straight to your ears. And I found that some people really need that. It's going to help you hear yourself, make sure you're not pacing too fast, or if you're from East Texas like I am, I tend to talk really fast where I'm from, so I have to slow down, and that helps me a bit. You'll see that a lot in like radio and television kind of things. It helps. That's why people do it. With the MV7, if you're going to be using the USB, there is a software with it that is called the Shure MOTIV, not the Shure MOTIV, called Shure MOTIV, MOTIV. You can download it for either Mac or PC, and then once you download it, you're gonna have to fill out some information on a little card on the website, obviously, but you're gonna fill out some information, it's gonna verify, and then it's gonna let you download it. The download takes a few minutes. Once you get it set up, you plug in your microphone, and then you select it from a drop-down menu, and then you're good to go. You can actually change some settings about, maybe different pickup patterns and other things. Play around with it a little bit. If you're unfamiliar with it, you can also ask me, and I can help you. But the large thing is like you have some options there to play with. You can raise or lower the gain depending on how close the mic is to you. Maybe if you're in a really tight space, like if you don't have a professional type setup and you're just in either like a you know closet with a bunch of coats around you, you don't really need that. You can kind of have it right here, and it's not going to have the input jacked up super high. So mess around with it a little bit. Next step is going to be just checking that our microphone is going to be the right input. For Mac users, is kind of a problem I've seen a lot with my clients and people I've just sort of spoken with and sort of had little meetings with, is like whenever they go to set it up, if they're in a hurry because maybe they weren't super prepared or this wasn't something they were thinking about, they'll go into the meeting and instead of having the right input, it'll be the default mic on the Mac, which is going to sound terrible because it picks up all your room noise. It's usually made for more of like a FaceTime call, and it's definitely not something that sounds professional. You can tell when it's bad, and I definitely, you always need to double check. So in Zoom, you're going to click on settings, and then you're going to go down to audio. The one on top, the header, is going to be for your headset. I always recommend wearing headphones, but I'm not going to get into that today. You're going to scroll down to the bottom, and it's going to say the microphone. On a Mac, it'll probably say default, so then it'll say like iMac microphone or MacBook microphone. You're going to click that drop down. If you're using USB, it's going to say MOTIV MV7. You're going to click that. Make sure you don't click the other one. That one should be fine though. But just to make sure we're actually selecting the right microphone, MOTIV MV7. And if you're using an audio interface like the Behringer Scarlett, click on those because it'll just say the name of that. It won't say the name of the microphone because it's not reading that. It's just going to be reading your actual audio input. So click on that, and then you're going to see the level start moving as you start talking, just a little test talk. And then, of course, you can hit test button real quick, and it'll run you through that. It'll record for 5 or 6 seconds, and it'll play it back for you. One thing to note is there's going to be a little button on the bottom that says automatically adjust audio volume. And I'll show you what it's talking about. So if you have your microphone kind of here, you're going to be talking, and then say you had to lean back to grab something or you moved, it's going to boost the levels for that because it can tell that your audio levels are dropping because you're not as close. So it's going to try to raise that level up, but you're going to hit all the room noise that's going on with that. And if you don't have an editor, you can hear that. It's not necessarily the biggest deal in the world, but I would recommend turning it off because if you have the mic at a constant volume, or sorry, at a constant distance from your mouth, and you're not really doing a whole lot of moving all over the place, it's completely unnecessary. And again, it's just going to spike some weird little, ghost sounds, background noises into that you don't really want. With Riverside, the functionality is pretty much exactly the same. Before you actually join the call in Riverside, it's going to have you go through sort of a check where you put in your name, select your camera, and you select the microphone. Just make sure it has the correct microphone selected there before you jump in. Of course, if you jump in too quick, you can always change it in the bottom left-hand corner by clicking on the little one of these guys next to the audio section, and then you'll be able to select the right microphone. Good sound is everything, and it's part of what builds your credibility. It's the first impression people are going to get of you if they've never heard of you before. Say you're an author or a thought leader going on a podcast tour because you kind of want to promote, talk about yourself, and build your brand. If your audio is bad, people are going to hear that, and it's unfortunately going to lose you some credibility. If you need help with anything, any mic really, or any sort of setup with your camera, this is an Osmo. It couldn't be any easier to set this thing up. And if you have different cameras for different webcams, no matter what, you guys need help, you can reach me by booking an hour-long tech call with me. We can get it set up. We can test it. I can even sort of remote in and make sure it's set up correctly through everything. And then, of course, I can even build you a little checklist. So every time before you go on a call or an interview, you can look at it and say, hey, this is going to be the best. It's going to sound good. It's going to look good. And that's what's going to really help build your authority. So if you have any comments or questions, drop them in the comments, and I'll be happy to help answer any of them. And until next time.